happen. On Friday, I took a tour of Garberville with the local sheriff's department. We had, and if you can hold off on this for a second, Tracy, just leave it on that. We had some people come here with comments about the transient traveler issues in Garberville, and so I talked with the sheriff's department and went out to do a tour with Lieutenant Swithenbank and Deputy Tony Gomez. But before that, even at the sheriff's substation, a transient woman who had mental problems came by to talk with the officers about arrangements to return her to her out-of-state home. And this just gives you a little window into what the county can do in some instances, courtesy of the DHHS mental health outreach officer. They were able to put her in touch with her family, and her mother sent airfare, and they were working out the logistics of getting her home. So after that, we headed out. To the first place we stopped at was the Garberville Cemetery, and this was really disturbing for some of those in attendance, because a group of people from Texas who told us they were just passing through were camped out in a van and in the cemetery itself. And they were sleeping next to graves. There was a hole dug in the ground next to a grave with feces in it. A guy standing on a grave. You can move this now. These had been sleeping there. This couple. He's urinating on a grave right there. And basically, we had a discussion with them about why they were in town. They were not looking for a job. They did not consider themselves homeless, and they were just hanging out. So the discussion was, well, why, are you doing what you're doing? It's very disrespectful. But anyhow, that was one of the first instances we ran into. In downtown Garberville, there was an RV that had been parked in a red zone overnight and for the better part of the previous day. Oh, by the way, this picture here is right on the other side of the cemetery. There's a sign that somebody was holding up. It says, "I just want beer." And just a lot of garbage. So then downtown we ran into several RVs that had been parked in a 2-hour parking zone for quite some time, and we had discussions with people. In this particular case, they had blocked the crosswalk, and they told us they were prospecting for a job. They were from Florida. They were not homeless. They were informed that Arcata was flooded, so they were trying their luck in Garberville to find work trimming marijuana. Their RV needed a jump start, so a local provided a jump start, and they moved on. Then we went on to a place known variously as Hippie Hill or Tweaker Hill. And what you see here is a fire pit, and it's right in the middle of an area that's got a lot of very dry underbrush. And that was one of several fire pits that we found. Now, this area had been cleared recently, and to the extent that the sheriffs had gone and said this was private property, there was no trespassing. But again, we found several people camping there, and with fire pits. And there have been numerous fires in the Garberville area in these kind of locations. That's the kind of brush that's there. It goes up very, very quickly. Right across the street, there actually was a burned area. Another fire pit there. So again, people had been informed that they were trespassing, but they had left, but they came back right away. And one guy that the sheriff recognized as having been there when they did visit them last time said he had, in the interim, gone back down to Venice and back up again, and was basically just hanging out. There were several campgrounds in and around this area. And all the people who were there were from out of state, Iowa. We had a whole group of people from France who were just coming through. And invariably, everybody said they were just travelers. They were not looking for work. One person said he wanted to go back to Iowa. So we then went after that. Several, as I said, these people were very aware that this was not an area that they could camp. We went down under the bridge over the river at Bear Creek. Under that bridge, there were trash, graffiti, feces in the slope above the river. Just generally a very disturbing kind of situation, and that's become a big hangout. This person here we met, she was looking for work, and she had a sign saying looking for work indoor or outdoor. She was from San Diego via Santa Rosa. We told her about numerous service jobs that are available in the Garberville Redway area, and the sheriffs were concerned about her getting involved with just going up into the hills with someone she didn't know. We talked with various community residents and met with some local business people, and generally speaking, the main focus here is that we just scratched the surface. We only had a couple of hours, but I saw a great deal of understanding and compassion among the locals, but they're basically weary of dealing with disrespect from visitors who are not really contributing anything to the community. There are a lot of local homeless, or there's a number of local homeless and people with substance abuse and mental challenges, and they are being helped in one way or another. And in fact, they're somewhat endangered by people who have problems and are just passing through. And again, most of them were travelers and not homeless. All the camping was illegal, trespassing. All the open ground around Garberville is private or owned by the county or the state. There's a lot of fire danger. There's an impact on tourism. There's a myth about trimming jobs in the marijuana industry. And there's mental illness and drug abuse. And it's an unincorporated town and doesn't have services or infrastructure. The sheriffs, however, did tell us that they were hoping to increase foot patrols in downtown Garberville and Redway in the few coming weeks. So we'll see if that helps the situation. What local business people and residents wanted to know, what are the ordinances? It's really a different situation when you're going there with the sheriffs. You can talk with people and you can have a reasonable expectation that you'll have a good conversation. A lot of women specifically felt like they couldn't go up to big groups of people. We ran into a group of 20 just hanging out with dogs and et cetera. And as soon as the sheriffs came by, they just scattered. But if you weren't up on your own, it's a different story. So that's the issue for people, and we'll try to deal with that with the patrols. So then on that Friday afternoon, we had the first of a number of water storage ad hoc committee meetings, and that was very good. We'll go forward with that. On Saturday, I went to a fundraiser and a celebration at the Mateel Community Center for Doug Green, a longtime festival organizer and general music organizer in the Southern Humboldt area. He's dying of cancer, and it was a really wonderful community event and really, really nice send-off for Doug. And on Sunday, I spent the whole day canning homegrown tomatoes. On Monday, I had a meeting with the Public Works and Humboldt Redwoods representatives regarding gravel agreements between the county and Humboldt Redwoods Company, and of course also a meeting with Supervisor Lovelace and the budget subcommittee of the Headwaters Fund. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to know, who took all the pictures? Did you
That
bring
was-
a photographer with you?
Yes, I did actually. Yeah, there was no press or anything like that. It was just an opportunity to go and see what people were talking about, and it everybody's got concerns, but I think the community basically feels that if we can just let people know there's some things are not good as far as how you behave yourself in downtown Garberville. That would really help a lot.
Great, thank you. So let's see. I had a busy week. Had a meeting with Philip, the city of